I always comment on, because I've spoken so extensively about it, and that is current events. So I just had a couple ideas I want to throw out, because everybody's going crazy about this, so I figure I'd just throw out what my take is on this. From all the previous shurim, I had given 17 21st century shurim, basically about the messianic process in extensive detail, and also especially about the elections, Trump, everything in terms of current events, which I've given. And so every once in a while, I comment that because I believe that we are really in a process near the end. That's why. And I'm always trying to show in a certain extent, a certain way, how current events does in many ways jive with the messianic process. Because I believe in many ways we are really at the end. And we are really in what's called the process of the end. And there are many things that are happening, but I think what's important to know is I had mentioned a long time ago what I think the proper role, or I should say the role really of President Trump is. But in a certain sense, he's not really doing what he should be doing. And I think in many ways he's being obstructed because in a certain sense there's a lot of punishment that he's going through. And you could see that because you could see a lot of midah keneged midah, measure for measure. That's how you can see when it's many ways punishment as opposed to just it's not time, as they say, And as far as the messianic process is concerned, it really centers, of course, around the Jewish people. The messianic process is about how to bring the Mashiach, and of course how to bring, remove the Jewish people from the Golus. And there are certain things which I believe Trump has done, which are really a mistake, an error. And I therefore believe that some of the obstacles which are happening to him are as a result of wake-up call. What's been happening lately is with North Korea, so everybody's in a tizzy about North Korea, because obviously that could be a war. I mean, that's obviously not just an obstruction. We're looking at an existential threat. But I believe several things are going on, and that's why North Korea is happening. What's obvious is that the whole problem with North Korea is that it just came out of nowhere. I mean, it's been going on for 20 years, but the threat of North Korea has just emerged in the last 3 months. In fact, ever since he became president. We see that. And I believe that there are several things going on in that scenario. Israel has been under an existential threat for many years by Iran. And of course Obama aided and abetted them, and he will of course someday answer to the din. And I don't envy him when he does, when the din comes down on him. Because he has not only enabled a terrorist regime to threaten Israel, to threaten the existence of Israel, but Iran really threatens the existence of the entire world. And he has aided and abetted because of his foolish, actually stupid understanding of what politics is about, and therefore the world really is really under a threat from Iran. But Trump said that he would deal with it, which he didn't. And therefore I believe that the Hashem said, and here comes the midah keneged midah, measure for measure. You don't want to deal with an existential threat to my people, Jews, Israel. Okay, I will now bring an existential threat to you, which is unheard of. That has never happened, basically. The last time that happened was, World War II. It's a long time ago. But that a country should actually have the gall, the temerity, the ha'oza, as they say, to threaten the United States, which doesn't make any sense. Well, Cold War was never really a threat because of mutually assured destruction. But this guy, in a certain sense, means it, maybe. But it hasn't happened in a long time. But in any case, I believe because Trump said that he would deal with Iran, as an existential threat, and he didn't. So what the Ribono Shel Olam is doing is saying, okay, you don't want to deal with that, I will bring up an existential threat to the United States. And let's see how you feel. And of course, there's a tremendous amount of anxiety because people feel that it's going to really lead into a tremendous war. So that's the first idea. It's an einish, it's a punishment. In terms of what Trump really should do is, of course, is disarm Iran, no matter what it takes. Because we all know what Iran is going to do. And they're worse than Kim, because they want to do it theologically. They want to destroy Israel because they believe theologically, the 12th Imam, or whatever the guy is, cannot come unless Israel is destroyed. Actually, the whole world has to go through a destruction. So they have to do it for theological reasons. Kim is just doing it for ego reasons, which I'll mention what he's all about. But and he didn't do it, so therefore the Ribono Shel Olam is punishing the United States. And I might add also a lot of other people who were partners in allowing Iran to do what they're doing. I mean, they are just doing exactly what North Korea is doing, except they're just behind, that's all. So that's the first idea. The second idea is that it also makes the United States aware of what an existential threat means. What does it mean? It's very hard for people, who live the lap of luxury to know what an existential threat is, So the Ribono Shel Olam is saying, I'm going to make you aware in terms of what does it mean to be existentially threatened. So therefore there's an awareness that America now has what that means, wipe out. So that's a second idea. A third idea, which is interesting, is that the Ribono Shel Olam is distracting Trump from dealing with Israel, because Trump has violated his promise. It's not only about moving the embassy to Jerusalem, that's one thing, but he has violated in the sense that he said he would not get involved. He would allow them to work it out, and whatever they do is fine with him. That's what he said. Instead, what's happening, he's deluded himself into thinking that he's the greatest negotiator on the planet, and therefore he's going to do what nobody else has ever done, which is to make peace between the Arabs and the Jews. And as a result of that, he's doing the same thing Bush did. He's pushing them in a corner. He's stopping them from growing and building and so on and so forth. He's putting what they say he's tightening the screws on Israel. Same thing Bush did, and so on. And he said he would not do that. So this is an einish. Like I said, you want to allow this to happen. So I will do this to you. But what the Ribono Shel Olam is doing is very interesting. Is two things. He's distracting Trump from the Israel proposal, to trying to make peace, by bringing up a new threat to the United States. And now who thinks of Israel? Everybody's now worried about North Korea. So the Ribono Shel Olam has effectively distracted him and turned his attention elsewhere. What you also see interesting is that just a couple of weeks ago, Israel had a major conflict with the Arabs in terms of the old city, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, where a couple of guys came out and killed a couple of policemen. And all of a sudden, everything went loose and so on, But what the Ribono Shel Olam did there, which is interesting, is to show that it's impossible to make peace with the Arabs, and that's why you have that. So now everybody realizes, forget about it, it's impossible. In fact, Abbas said that he's not going to stop supporting the terrorists, he'd rather resign. So everybody now realizes that peace is impossible. So in a certain sense, the Ribono Shel Olam is breaking his bubble. You can't make peace, so cut it out already. And just give the green light to Israel to do whatever they can. So I believe all these events can be understood in light of what I'm suggesting. And so on, especially North Korea. As far as North Korea is concerned, people make a mistake. Kim Jong-un, whatever the guy's name is, he's not suicidal. He's not really crazy either. He's just a megalomaniac. What he wants to do is not destroy anybody. He's not interested in a certain sense, because he can't get away with it. But what he is interested in is being recognized as a world power. That's really what he wants to do. It's an ego trip. He wants to become nuclear and be recognized as a world power. But of course, in a certain sense, he's paranoid, because he does think that the U.S. is going to go against him. So that's part of the problem, is that he's willing to do things which are insane, to protect himself. But I do not think personally that anything really will happen. And but the U.S. has a real problem because they cannot really allow him to become nuclear, because he will always be there to threaten anybody, whether it be South Korea, which is Seoul, which is only about 37 miles away from the border, or he could threaten Tokyo. I mean, you know, South Korea is the 9th greatest economy on the planet, and Japan is like the 2nd. So imagine if he took out Tokyo and he took out Seoul, the whole world would collapse in that sense, you know. So the problem is he has to be taken out. He cannot really be allowed to keep what he has. Okay, that's the problem, but this, I believe, is an einish, because they're not dealing with Iran. One good thing about this is they now understand what an existential threat is, and they need to stop Iran now, because now they can stop Iran before they become at the same level nuclear-wise as North Korea. Anyway, that's my take, you know. So, and how it really all fits into the process. I hope Trump gets it and he cuts out the nonsense.